think I first started tracking you when you appeared on my Twitter timeline out of nowhere.
Many such cases.
Many such cases.
I'm frequently reminded that Twitter is actually real life.
And at the time you were at this company Astranis. Like, what does that look like in a startup where you join at 50 employees and then go to 500?
I was hired for a finance job. I got basically looped into recruiting because there was a hard role that we couldn't fill. And so I was like, why don't I give it a shot? Like, it worked out well. Like, I found some people that we ended up hiring relatively quickly, over like 3 weeks or something. And so I was like, okay, maybe Christian can recruit. There are plenty of times in Astranis' history where we like had shit go wrong. So we put our satellite in a TVAC chamber and something goes wrong. If we take it out of the chamber, you might have to wait months before we can do this test, which delays the satellite, which delays the entire timeline of the company by multiple months. What we did is we opened the chamber, took the satellite out, drove it back to San Francisco, opened it and fixed it within a matter of hours, brought it back to LA and put it back in the chamber and finished the test on time. There's no way that should have worked.
Now you're a partner at A16Z on their American Dynamism fund team.
Well, I'm a beginner again, so that's fun. The kinds of conversations you have as an operator are very different than the kind of conversations you have as a VC. It's much harder to be an optimist than a pessimist. Any half brain can like come up with a reason that a startup could fail, but it's much harder to make one that works.
Christian, Keil, welcome to We the Builders.
Thank you. Excited for it.
I think I first started tracking you when you appeared on my Twitter timeline out of nowhere.
Many such cases.
Many such cases, right? Out of nowhere. And at the time you were at this company Astranis.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a partner at A16Z on their American Dynamism fund team. So I think like we've lots to talk about, but maybe we can just start there. How did you start dominating everyone's Twitter timeline?
That's so funny. I'm frequently reminded that Twitter is actually real life. Like, it's very easy to segment it and believe that it's just this weird part of the internet where I get to share thoughts and hear back from total strangers. But then every once in a while, like, I'll be at a party, my wife will be there, and someone will come up and say like, hey, are you the guy from Twitter? And my wife's like, what is this? Like, what a joke. But I don't know. Basically it was when I took over marketing for Astranis, like when marketing officially became my job, I decided that I should like be good at it. And I decided that I should care about getting our message out there. Like, what are all the channels that I can use to do that? Where are the people that we want to talk to? What are they doing online, or where are they in general? And the answer was just Twitter. Like, if you care about talking to VCs, you should go to Twitter. If you care about talking to people in tech because you're selling B2B or something, you should be on Twitter. It's just where the industry is
even for
conversing.
B2B.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's if there's people that you need to sell to that are startup people, like that's where they are. That's where everybody is.
If you're selling to people in the government, then
well, yeah, that's not. I mean,
that's a separate
there
story,
actually,
right?
Surprisingly, there are more and more people in government on Twitter.
On Twitter,
but it's yes, it's like a Silicon Valley thing.
Right.
So I decided I should be good at it. I decided to like really practice and get better. So I had a lurker-ish account that, I tweeted about Michigan basketball or whatever every once in a while for years, like 8 years or something.
Oh,
and
wow.
then finally decided that I should actually start tweeting about tech.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, my Twitter account was probably started 10-ish years ago, but I only really started tweeting like 2 years ago.
So wait, what was the lurker account about? Like, tell me more.
It's the same account. It's not
the same
you
account.
can go back in history
Okay.
and it's like, 2013 Christian is talking about like being in a fraternity and watching Michigan basketball.
Oh, I see. So you rebranded the whole account, and now it's.
I did rebrand to pronounced Keil because people kept saying my last name wrong. Everybody would say Keil. But now people just call me Keil, like the first name Keil, so it sort of backfired. But anyways, I rebranded to pronounce Keil and then started tweeting about tech and started talking about engineering and science and all that sort of stuff more deliberately.
Let's say if somebody is, thinking about rebranding themselves or their company, repositioning, what's the first step? How do you start?
Wow. I mean, it's such a, honestly, I think the question's too hard to answer, like in the abstract sense. It all depends on the person, it all depends on the company, it all depends on what they're trying to solve for.
Like,
I think but if the question is like, how do you get good at Twitter?
Right.
The answer is just to tweet a lot.
Maybe explain the situation you were in, right? Like
Sure.
you were figuring out the marketing strategy, from scratch. You guys were not as active on Twitter. What were the goals at the time? Like, what was the, let's say, 1 year plan or agenda you laid out, right? Like, which informed everything else.
Totally. So basically, I would say that marketing at the end of the day is finding the message to fit with the audience. So you need to have this like back and forth motion of you putting things out there in the world and then people responding to them in some way. And so YouTube, great channel. Very, very, very hard to get feedback very fast. It just takes too long. It takes too much energy to like set up all this stuff and like get all the cameras and then do all the editing and then get all the approvals and blah, like it just takes forever. So Twitter is the opposite of that. That's why it's so awesome. You can go on X now. I should say X probably. When you go on X, you post, you don't tweet, you post. When you go on X, you post and you just immediately get feedback. That second, maybe that minute, maybe that hour, but definitely you're hearing back immediately how your tweet was. Did it land? Did it reach the people you wanted it to reach? So that's why I loved it. That's why it was such a good platform to basically practice marketing on, or like practice messaging on. We throw out a tweet, it doesn't work. Okay, ignored. Like nobody saw it, doesn't matter. But you do a good tweet, it hits, more people see it. Okay, now I know to do more like that. It's very iterative. I think that any process of like bringing something new to the world has to be iterative, and Twitter is a great place to get immediate feedback and fast feedback.
How do you solve the cold start problem? Once, like, I guess you get to some critical mass.
It's so painful. Like, honestly, like starting Twitter sucks because it's like you tweet into the void for like years. Like literally it can be
precisely.
Years. So I think the real secret, I don't know, we could go really far down the like Twitter strategy rabbit hole. I think you have to like follow accounts that you want to be like someday. You have to reply to them incessantly. You gotta get really annoying, but hopefully add some value. Don't just purely be annoying. And then eventually, like hopefully that turns into some people following you because you have interesting things to say underneath people's posts. And then you sort of like earn the right to do your own posts and like start your own conversations.
Reply guy is a very real strategy.
I think it's the only strategy, frankly. It's like it used to be Spaces was the right way to do it. Spaces aren't that popular anymore.
Spaces was there only for hot second, and then
But it was like the way to grow a Twitter account back in the day. That was like, it was a really good way because you could just like, because you were a person in the industry that had something to say. You had like a real life persona that people knew you for. And then if you're just trying to translate that into Twitter, well, okay, you can get to be a part of conversations that you would never be a part of based on your follower count or based on your Twitter presence. And you just like show up and here I am and people follow you as a result of that. But
are Spaces completely gone now?
Like, no, they exist. Like TBPN is on Spaces or whatever. It's like a Twitter, not a space, but it's like a broadcast or whatever.
Right.
So broadcasts exist, Spaces exist. They're still out there.
So interesting. I think for a year everybody was doing Spaces, and then like kind of
it was sort of like the Clubhouse phase, wasn't it? Like, it was the pandemic Clubhouse craze. That was really fun. I loved that.
Clubhouse initial days, you could like meet anyone. It was like maybe Twitter early days where you could DM anyone, jump into any conversation. It was such a great network builder. And then like many shiny objects in the valley, it's just like sort of didn't work out. So reply guy is like the only real strategy to solve the cold start problem.
It depends. Like another counterexample to that is the CEO of Applied Intuition just joined Twitter. Basically, like he had 0 tweets forever, and then he's like, "Here's a very thoughtful post that only I could have made, and it's a blog post, and I just linked to it in my tweet," and he just instantly got a cold start from that way. So it's very, very possible to do it otherwise. But if you're like more of a rando, probably you have to start as a
I think you probably had a whole team and also 10, 15 years of relationships.
That is true.
Right? Like he was.
I don't know. He
was chief operating officer of Y Combinator. And so like probably if he was there for I don't know how long he was there, but he was there for at least 3-4 years. That's a lot of batches, a lot of
Like there's obviously he had the relationships that translated into Twitter, which helps a lot.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that is possible, especially now because I think articles are getting boosted more, or long form posts are getting boosted more.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Okay, but that is Twitter is probably one part of it. What was the broader marketing plan?
Well, you'd be surprised. I don't know if it was that. Basically, like in the early days of all the jobs that I started at Astranis, it started very small. So it really probably did start as just sort of Twitter. It was like, actually, it started as the website. I saw our website. It was basically a landing page. And I was like, this is not good. We need to do much better than this. So I just made a new website. I like went on a website.
You just made it yourself?
Yeah. I just made a new website.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, this is better than what we got. Like, does anyone disagree? No. Okay, ship it. Like, and so most of my jobs at Astranis started very small, very target, like project based. So when I was becoming our first recruiter, basically, I wasn't officially a recruiter, but I was the first person doing recruiting somewhat full time.
You were also leading marketing, but you were also the company recruiter.
This was like, so this is the early days of a startup where you're just sort of everything. So I was hired for a finance job. I got basically looped into recruiting because there was a hard role that we couldn't fill. It was very difficult. It was like a senior FPGA engineer or something like that. We couldn't find it. We were looking for a year. Even the external recruiting agencies were just totally struggling. And so I was like, why don't I give it a shot? Like I found it from finance. We were doing a review of all of our expenses. I was like, who are these recruiters and why we have 0 hires coming from them? So I was like, I'll just try to do that. I'll try to do what their job is. And one role, it worked out well. Like I found some people that we ended up hiring relatively quickly over like 3 weeks or something, which is very fast for a role like that. And so I was like, okay, maybe Christian can recruit. And so we kept throwing it. Like that's how everything started. Though. It starts as a little project that you just kind of try. And then if you prove that you're capable of it, then all of a sudden you get more and more responsibility. It grows to be more and more of your job. All of a sudden I've realized that like I've run all the experiments of the right times and days to be doing it. And Sunday morning turns out to be the best time to LinkedIn recruit people. And so I'm like, my wife is mad at me because we're traveling somewhere and I'm like sitting at home in a hotel room, like recruiting people on LinkedIn Recruiter. Like, so eventually it became too much of my job. And we had to hire somebody to take over that chunk of the job. But that was super common for Astranis. So tweeting really was the beginning of marketing. It was just a small, tiny task that ultimately blossomed into something much bigger, like running a department and doing video and hiring Jason and all the things.
Okay, wait, when you say Jason, you're talking about Jason Carman, who's been on the podcast, releasing soon. Or would be released by the time this comes out. And he's become this, I guess, now has been discovered as this generational talent. But like when you spotted him, what was he like? What role did you envision for him? What role were you hiring for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jason was generational before we found him, to be clear. Like, I don't think that Astranis did a little bit of molding in that we like introduced him to tech and we showed him how this whole venture ecosystem works and stuff. But he had all the raw material from that. It's like obvious that he's been doing it since he was like a little kid, like running around with a camera. But I think that, so Jason Carman is like a generational video talent. We found him because we were looking for someone to own our own premium media, basically. And this was, I don't know how many years ago now, but definitely before it was popular to do this. Nowadays,
what do you mean by own your own premium media?
So the alternative is that you want to make a big announcement, so you hire a PR firm. The PR firm will like write a blog for you and then introduce you to a video production company. The video production company costs tens of thousands of dollars that take weeks and weeks and weeks. They like sit you down and do all these like professional video things. And then eventually you have one video at the end of all that. And we did that actually. We actually did we did that sort of experiment with one video where we were going to announce a new program that we were basically like a new sale that we made. And it was super painful. Like it cost a lot of money. It took a really long time. It didn't perform that well because it was not iterative. It was just thrown out into the void basically. And we thought that there had to be a better way. Like we think that video is a good channel. It makes you stand out on the Twitter timeline. It makes you stand out just
at the time.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, of course, everybody's like launching with cinematic video, which I love, which genuinely I love. I just think that, it was a different timeline back then.
It was only about time when it would make it to Twitter because that had become the consumption of choice across all other platforms.
Yeah, definitely. So it was like, how do you optimize for Twitter? You have to stand out in some way. How do you stand out on Twitter? You have some unique thing, and ours was cinematic video. And so we had the idea to do that. We were trying to find somebody who is like true full stack video, which is hard, like to find somebody who can both shoot and edit and post produce and do the audio and write the copy, like all the things. That's a hard role to fill. So we're searching for a while. Actually, now Jason has become my example that I use of when I teach people how to hire. Like normally, everybody you find fits a bell curve. Like most of the candidates are average, half of them are below average. Like it kind of standard deviations its way out from there. And you don't want to hire people that are at the top of the bell curve. That's the secret. If you just hire the people that fit the distribution or kind of like the best of the people you're seeing so far, you're going to make a bad hire. That's not actually the person you want to hire. You have to wait until a Jason comes along that's like off the charts, like many standard deviations above, like 7 standard deviations above average. It's not just 3. And that's the person you want to hire. So immediately upon seeing us, he just like applied on our website, but his application wasn't like, here's a fancy resume. It was, I made you a custom video. Here's me, Jason, sitting in front of the camera explaining why I should be your camera guy. It was like, okay, obviously you get an interview. He came, he made an amazing video as part of an on-site, and we hired him immediately.
How is this application different
than everybody else's?
Yeah.
Nobody else did a video.
Sorry?
Nobody else did a video. Like that wasn't a requirement. It was just, he just did that. He decided to do it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
And in the interview, or when you met him from other applicants, what stood out?
I mean, just everything, like the drive, the talent, the the curiosity, the hunger to do really great work. Like all those things were off the charts for Jason. And all of my favorite hires, like everybody that I hired at Astranis that has gone on to do really incredible things, like at the company and like beyond, like that, those are the sorts of things that you see in those people. It's like you start off in hiring, and maybe you even start off in VC by like seeing the distribution, seeing the matrix. Like we know this sort of company exists and this sort of company exists, this sort of candidate exists, this sort of candidate exists. But then over time, you understand the distribution well enough that you know when someone is like way beyond it. And all the best people that I've hired have been the way beyond it.
What has been a common thread amongst all these people? What else? Like looking back.
Well, there's only one, honestly, and that one is just curiosity. Like I think that the core thing that you need to be, if you're going to be good at a startup, the way that you can predict that is if someone's just curious enough. So if they're like very smart, you can be very good at a startup, but you're not going to be like generationally talented at a startup. The reason is things just change too fast.
Yeah.
Like you could be perfectly fit to what we need right now, but we don't even know what we're going to need in 2 years. And so you have to be someone who wants to be continuously learning. Jason, when he got hired at the company, didn't really know anything about engineering. He didn't know what mechanical engineering was or electrical engineering, or like, you know, I think he like took software engineering classes when he was in college or something before dropping out after like 5 days. But there was but he definitely didn't know like FPGA from, you know, propulsion from all the different types of aerospace engineering that we had. And so the best thing about Jason is that you could just toss him into that world and he would go make friends and learn about the thing. And at the end of the day, like really start to understand what he was looking at. And so that's common among all those hires. Like even if it's like a lawyer or a creative or an engineer of a very specialized system, like you just don't want people that burrow down into their discipline. You want people that want to understand the entire thing.
You said that you started off recruiting because you like, you know, the company was trying to find an FPGA engineer, and like you just couldn't find it. Months went by, or like a year went by, I think, right? And you took on the role and started becoming a department. Well, tell me more about like how that grew into, like how did you find the people who would eventually lead it? How would it become? What was the transition like? Like what does that look like in a startup where you join at 50 employees and then go to 500?
Yeah, totally. So I think the basic pattern was a couple of parts. The first part was always just me being sort of like ambitious and like wanting to prove that I could do anything. And so I would take on these jobs. Like I would notice we're spending a bunch of money on recruiters. They're not returning anything. I could be a recruiter, like, you know, part braggadocious cockiness and part like actual belief in my skills or whatever. So that's the first step, is just volunteering for the job. The second part is being good at the job. Like if I was really bad at something and just totally crashed and failed, then not only have I proven that I can't do the thing, but I haven't proven the value to the company of that thing. So if I was a really bad recruiter, I wouldn't have succeeded in finding those people, and then we wouldn't have known that we should have more recruiters, if that makes sense. So over time, you have the interest, you prove that you're good at it, and then eventually it just grows to be too big a part of your job. If you're good at anything, you can keep loading inputs into that system and you'll keep churning out outputs. Eventually, though, it like swamps everything. It's like I was spending well over 40 hours a week just on recruiting. It's like, okay, that's not sustainable. I also have to do finance, which is my day job. So that was when we decided to hire somebody. You hire your first employee. Oftentimes that first employee looks very different than the person who actually scales the team. Like just because they're a great doer doesn't mean they're going to be a great manager. So you hire a great doer to begin. Once that person gets overwhelmed, maybe you hire another doer. Once you have a couple of them, all of a sudden there's a management burden, and then you hire the manager that scales the team. So for Astranis, it was like me as the recruiter. Then we hired our first guy who's incredible and like stayed at the company a really long time. He hired like, his name's Tony. He rules. He hired like 150 plus people probably. Astranis. Yeah, he was killer. And then we hired his manager, who then basically scaled the function to 10 people, like 10-ish recruiters, maybe like 7 recruiters, 3 coordinators, something like that. I mean, it's probably bigger than that now. It's probably like 10 to 15 people.
How do you decide when to promote within and when you absolutely need to bring in someone from the outside?
Very role dependent, very role dependent. So like, for instance, I think the chief of staff is like a really hard role to hire from outside the company. It's just too high trust. Like you have to, the best chief of staff is going to be in every meeting, is going to be in every like exec conversation. So maximum security clearance of the company. It's very hard to know if you can trust somebody like that if they just apply. You have to know them before. So maybe they could come from outside if you knew them before. But for the most part, I think that you want to promote from within for something like a chief of staff role. But there are plenty of times, like once you start hiring specialists is a great example of when you bring people in from the outside. It's like at Astranis, we know that we need some like a great example is like government sales. Like when we were starting government sales at Astranis, it was like Christian applying for SIBRs, like, you know, like just making it up as we went along, like working with actually the way that we got in was through an investor that was very experienced in the DoD and basically like showed us what SIBRs are. And so, but I'm not the like person who has relationships with the DoD. So we're going to go out, we're going to find people that have those relationships and that have been working in that world forever. And are like the person who's leading the government programs at Astranis right now is like a decades-long career within the Air Force, and that turns into all these awesome relationships and all these people that he just knows and can open doors that I never could, just like making it up as I went along.
You were in the chief of staff role at like for a while at Astranis, right? Once your role evolved, did that role get replaced within the company? Did you like?
It didn't actually. So after me, there was no other chief of staff. There's not been a second Astranis chief of staff. I think that's
because
it's a hard role.
It's a very hard.
And I didn't really like. There was never a time when I really fit what a lot of people think of when they think of chief of staff. I think like in the beginning, I was kind of like EA-ish, frankly. Like oftentimes chiefs of staff it's like the person who just handles the logistics of the exec's job. And so I was definitely that kind in the very beginning. But then over time, again, you like prove that you can do more and prove you can take on more and more and more. And then by the end of it, I was also not really chief of staffy. Like I was kind of managing a couple little functions that were under the CEO, but you didn't have actual time to like marketing or whatever, marketing and regulatory and things you didn't have time to really dive into the weeds on. I would lead those. And then we hired some people that came under me and whatever. So the chief of staff role was very weird and means something different at every company. I think the reason people are confused by the chief of staff role is because people don't really know what a CEO does. Like the chief of staff does what their executive does. It's like we just help make their lives easier and better. And sometimes we'll supplement them, meaning like doing things that they are doing, but making them better at those things. And sometimes we'll complement them. We'll do the things they're not doing. But in order to make sense of that, you have to understand what a CEO does, and people definitely don't know that.
No, every CEO is different in every organization. They have different skill sets, different strengths that they have, or different priorities, frankly, that they want to focus on. That's very fair. So you said that once you take on a new role, you just like prove that you're good at it. How do you become good at it? How do you become? How do you become at it?
If I knew the answer,
what's your process for becoming good at something that's completely new to you?
If I actually knew the answer to that question, then I could hire for it better. And I wish I knew the answer. I think the secret is like it's a mix of curiosity and just raw intelligence and raw horsepower of being able to get a ton of stuff done. Like I think that my chief skill, my number one skill as an operator is speed. Like I'm just fast. Like I can get things done really quickly. I can iterate through multiple versions of a thing. I can spit out the shitty first draft really fast, and then I can get feedback, and then I'll make the second draft like an order of magnitude better than the first. Like that isn't a skill that's teachable directly. I don't think. Like you kind of, not to toot my own horn, you kind of just have to like that's like an intelligence thing. Like you just have to be sort of smart. But at the end of the day, you want to find people that are willing to put in that time. You want to find people that have proven they've learned new things before. You want to find people that are curious, like I said before, that have vast, weird interests. Like when we were talking before this podcast, you kept uncovering little things that I had done in my past. Like I wrote a book about religion and science.
Yeah,
and
like,
that's probably pretty confusing. Like I don't have any of that on my Twitter feed today. You know what I mean? But you want to find people like that have those layers that you can keep peeling back and finding new, interesting things they've done, especially in the ops job. Like, you know, of all the jobs in Silicon Valley, the like generalist operator, those are like the most interesting people in the world. Like there's another guy at Astranis he's still there. He's like literally the world's most interesting man. He like sells mushrooms to Michelin star restaurants that he forages in the woods. He like holds records for like, you know, spearfishing or whatever, like deep sea diving. Like there's some really cool people that are in those ops jobs in Silicon Valley. And that is definitely where you get the most breadth. But I think almost any role needs.
Outside Astranis, who are some of your favorite operators?
The other person that I would point to is Mickey, who was my old boss at Astranis. Mickey is like not only the smartest person, but she's also just incredibly practical. Like, what is practicality? Practicality is like starting with an idea that's super vague and like fuzzy, and then making it extremely specific.
Getting
like
very granular.
And you can prove each step of the way. You know what I mean? Like you can take these vague ideas and make them into things that you can do or things that you can prove are right or wrong. And Mickey's incredible at that. Like there's no BS, there's no fluff. It's just like she can get shit done. And so I learned so much from her when I was at Astranis. Like she left Astranis. She has 4 kids. She's like living in a nice house in San Francisco. Like she has an awesome life. And I don't know, it was awesome to learn from her. it was awesome to learn from her because she's just like such a smart, capable person. I learned.
What is your top takeaway from her?
I mean, for all of my like practicality or whatever, I'm like fairly dramatic. I'm not actually innately that suited to the early stage startup thing because I'm very like, I can catastrophize pretty easily and I can like be ecstatic like pretty easily. And I think that there's a way that's really good. You can like channel that. Definitely you can channel the anxiety to work harder. And then you can channel the like excitement to be hype on Twitter or something.
Yeah. Or that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or to help. Yeah. To make other people excited. So like that can be useful. But Mickey was very like steady and calm in every situation. So there are plenty of times in the Astranis' history where we like had shit go wrong. Some piece of hardware broke, some test failed, whatever. We actually told the story this is a public story, so I'll tell it again now. Basically, we were our first ever satellite. Astranis has plowed however many years of collective effort into one physical object. So it's like a physical thing. It is not a piece of code that we can redeploy if something goes wrong. Like it is a physical thing that we have to take care of.
Yeah.
So that physical thing is down in Los Angeles and we're putting it in a thermal vacuum chamber, which basically is this big tube where you suck out all the air and then you can make it really hot and really cold. So you know that when you're trying to get the heat out or, keep something hot enough that it's because of radiation. It's not because of convection. There's no air to convect. So it all has to be radiated. That's why you go in a TVAC chamber. So we've put our satellite in a TVAC chamber and something goes wrong. There's a failure in a component that's like an important component that the satellite would basically die if that component failed in orbit. So now we have a decision to make. We're down in LA. We don't own this chamber. We only have it for a certain amount of time. If we take it out of the chamber, we might just never get it back in. We might have to wait months before we can do this test, which delays the satellite, which delays the entire timeline of the company by multiple months. Or we can just like accept it. We could say, okay, we know that this thing failed, but we'll fix it when it comes out. And then we'll, know that it's not going to happen again on orbit. There are infinite possible things within that. The simplest thing to do in that situation is to totally freak out and to like be chaotic and to have too much anxiety/energy that you don't actually kind of quickly figure out what is the right path. But what I learned from Mickey in that time, what I learned from other leaders at Astranis in that time was just being calm and making the right decision and not being too emotional about it. So what we did is we opened the chamber, took the satellite out, drove it back to San Francisco, opened it and fixed it within a matter of hours, brought it back to LA and put it back in the chamber and finished the test on time. That was ridiculous. There was no way that should have worked. Like the fact that we didn't have that much margin in the schedule, like that no one has that much margin because TVACs cost a lot of time. It costs a lot of time to get a TVAC. So the fact that we were able to pull that off and actually get it back in there and actually fully test the thing and do the really the right thing in terms of like minimizing risk in a satellite program, that was crazy. And I don't think we would have been able to do something that bold, but then also that kind of like correct, if that makes it like that like by the book or whatever. We made the decision that both required an immense amount of effort, was completely by the book, that like checked all the right boxes and things, but that is really hard to make. It's like really coming down to the wire, very scary. So we that was an example of a time that we had to kind of put the Christian emotion out of the way and just be ruthless operators.
That's a good story, I guess. So learning to be stable in critical situations is like
yeah, totally. And I mean, over time you get used to them kind of because you see enough of them, and like the first time you see a failure, you're like, oh God, all is lost. Like there's something literally on fire in the lab. But then after you see like a couple of things go wrong or whatever, you see, and frankly, you see things worse go wrong over time. It's like, okay, we've had something bad happen, but we saw a lot worse before. So nowadays, I don't know, I've seen sort of everything. I think that's actually going to be one of my benefit, like one of the things that I'm best at as a VC is that I've actually been there and I've seen all the bad news happen. And I'm sure that other like VCs have heard the reports of the bad things happening, but there's something very different when you like start smelling like that's like burning metal. Should that be coming from the lab? And then you like run down there and something's like physically on fire. That's like a very different feeling. And I'm okay now. I can handle whatever.
Actually, on that note, can you share more stories from a launch, or what's it like? Like walk us into like,
oh my God,
what is a satellite launch like?
Talk about like the most stressful environment ever. Like I said, it's a physical object that you've poured your whole life energy into for years. Like you and all of your best friends like have all poured the energy into one physical object together. So it feels like your baby. It feels like your child, whatever. Like you're so protective of that thing. And to strap it to the top of a rocket that's about to like have an incredible blast of fire coming out of it and shoot into space. Like that's pretty stressful, frankly. We had 2 launches that I did while we were there, or while I was there. The first launch where our first satellite didn't really know what to expect, like very scary because it's the first. And we weren't the primary payload on that. We were a secondary payload. So there was a big satellite on top of the rocket and then we were sort of bolted to the side. That led to its own problems because you don't control the schedule. Like the big rocket or the big satellite was in control of the schedule. So we just sort of had to like wait for them to be ready for a long time. Very painful. But that was incredible. Like saw that in person, got to go see the rocket on the pad. It was a Falcon Heavy, which is super cool. The 3 Falcon 9s just smashed together. Very cool experience. And then the second launch was its own animal because we had 4 satellites on there now. It's only us on the rocket. So it is our rocket. It has an Astranis logo on the side of the rocket. How freaking sick is that? But also incredibly stressful. Like it's just that second launch in particular, there was like, I don't know, it feels like everything always goes wrong, like right when the things are most critical or whatever. Like the rocket got struck by lightning. That was insane. That was actually our first rocket got struck by lightning. We called it Thor's blessing internally at Astranis. The second satellite had a bunch of delays. There actually was sort of like failed ignition that happened with our second launch, which is extremely rare. That like never happens to SpaceX. But they ignited technically. I think technically the rockets, the engines ignited, but then immediately thereafter, like a millisecond after, they got some faulty reading, some weird reading from the rocket, and they had to abort. They just like called it off. So like you get all the way down, you're going like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then there's just like a spark and some light and a cloud of smoke, and you're like, God damn it, the thing just blew up. It was so scary, but it was fine. And we were far enough away. We couldn't tell what the hell was happening. And when you're there in person, you're not listening to the broadcast, so you don't like have all the extra angles and like hear the people say, it's fine, it's okay. You just sort of are hearing the countdown and then see a flash and a cloud of smoke and you're like, there's no rocket coming out of that cloud of smoke. Like, shouldn't there be a rocket? And that was pretty stressful too.
What is it was so
it's terrifying. I would highly recommend that everybody go see a rocket launch in person. I wouldn't recommend that everyone go see their own rocket in person. It's very
but see a rocket launch in general.
Go see a rocket.
What more can you share about the experience of launching with SpaceX?
Oh, it's cool. It's a very cool experience. I mean, being the primary payload on a rocket is very different than being just like rideshare payload. You get the full VIP treatment. You get to go to Hangar X, which is like their hangar in the Cape Canaveral is where they launch out of mostly. So you get to go to their own special hangar. You have this like sort of VIP experience where you get to, earlier in the day, you go and you tour around the pad. So you like go right up to the rocket. It's not fueled at that point, so it's safe, but you're like within shouting distance of the thing. That's trippy. Like rockets are huge. They don't come across that big on the webcast or whatever, but like you saw not only the Falcon 9, which is massive, it's like this huge machine, but then off to the side in Cape Canaveral is where they have the launch arms for Starship. That's like, it dwarfs it. It makes it look like a child's rocket, like Falcon 9. It looked like a kid's rocket.
Have you been to a Starship launch?
I've not been to Starship. I need to go. I almost went. I actually like had a ticket to go out there, but then they canceled my flight actually. It was super.
On my list too. Maybe we can coordinate. Like
I want to go. I really want to go. Yeah.
Starship trip. Oh, that's super cool. You were also involved in, well, I'm guessing there are a lot of regulations involved with like getting a satellite into space. So
yeah, that's
true. And as you were wearing all these different hats, you told me over lunch that you were also involved in regulatory.
Yeah.
And share more about that experience.
Well, I warned you at lunch that I could talk about this for literally any amount of time. So what's my time limit?
Unlimited. Let's go.
Unlimited.
Okay. Like let's go deep.
Welcome to Christian's regulatory hour. We will be here for 3 to 5 hours.
Hey, I would imagine we would go deeper on marketing, but I think the audience is going to enjoy this.
All right, great. So there are many things you have to do to prove to sort of the world, but like the country that's sponsoring you, that you are capable and basically capable of operating a satellite in orbit.
Well, what do you mean?
You have to. So
a country that's sponsoring you.
So still today, every action in space is done by a country, not by a company. So even SpaceX that has like, whatever, roughly 10,000 satellites up there now, they are all happening through a jurisdiction. I think that they're mostly through the US, but not every like US based operator operates through the US. Some go through the UK, some go through Germany, some go through Rwanda, like literally Rwanda. It's like there are lots of countries around the world that are aspiring space powers, or at least like have their own domestic space industries. So France does it. The ones that I mentioned. There's lots of countries that do it.
So do they have like a spot in space or something? Like how's that? How does it work?
Sort of. There's okay, so all the licenses that you need a driver's license, basically. That's like you are a competent satellite operator. We trust you're not going to like crash your satellite into somebody else's satellite. You have to have a parking spot up there. So it's complicated in low Earth orbit where the International Space Station is and where the Starlink satellites are, because you can't just like stop a satellite. Where we were up in geostationary orbit, you do kind of stop. So those are true parking spots. It's like you have this physical location in space that's yours. In LEO, it's like you have a shell, basically. It's like you have orbital parameters that say, in this shape of orbit at this angle, this is your place to operate, basically. So you have to have a parking spot, you have to have a driver's license, you have to have the ability to land the signals in the country that you want to land, which is very hard if you have to land in every country. Like a lot of these low Earth orbit satellites want to have global coverage, so you have to go to every country in the world and say, hi, what are your rules? How can we comply with those rules in order to operate in this country? There's a lot, like, and it depends on what your mission is too. So that's like for a comms mission, there are different things for imaging. It's like, there's a lot. So we had to do all those different licenses. We had to operate both with the countries that were sponsoring us. So whether it's the UK or the US or what have you. But we also had to work with the International Telecommunication Union, which is the UN. It's part of the UN. They're the people that actually do the parking spots.
I see.
Yeah, the parking spots are crazy, by the way. Like they're free, first of all, which is very surprising, I think. Like the fact that there are spaces in space that
UN could technically make money off of it.
In theory, they could. I mean, they get fees or whatever for processing the applications, but I don't know what the UN would do with like tens of millions of dollars just because these things are very valuable. You never know.
Whatever else it does with tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. No, but so basically, like the job of the regulatory team is to go make sure that none of those licenses stand in the way, which is really hard. Like depending on all the different jurisdictions you have to work in, they're all different. They all have different rules. Of course, people are really concerned. Like people around the world are very concerned with space sustainability, basically making sure that nothing's going to bump into anything else and there's going to be no risk of sullying orbits for everybody. Because if anybody messes up out there, then it's bad for everybody in the entire world. So they're very careful. And you just like, just to give you a little taste of like what it actually takes, there's one process that we did, which is basically our driver's license for a second batch of satellites. It took us a full year, at least, hundreds and hundreds of meetings, like at least meetings plus deliverables sent back and forth. Ultimately, if you just like turned the paperwork that we submitted into a file, it would have been like 700 pages long of just like pure technical documentation that proves that we're legit and we know what we're doing. It's an incredibly, incredibly involved task to prove that you can operate a satellite.
So this is for the second launch?
This is for the second launch, yeah. Wow. The first launch was one satellite, which makes it like, 1/4 as easy, or like 4 times easier. But harder because it's your first time doing everything. Like the first time you have to prove, the one that I didn't mention is range safety. So because rockets are ICBMs, basically, like you have to be very careful around them. You can't just have anything put into a rocket, because if you have a very poorly designed satellite, it like blows up. It blows up the entire rocket. It destroys a piece of critical national infrastructure out of a pad. So you definitely don't want that to happen. To prove that's not going to happen, there's this like truly insane checklist, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe probably thousands and thousands of rows long. That's just like, what is all these details that prove to me that you have competently made the system and aren't going to explode the pad? So like the first time you have to fill out that range safety checklist, it is so daunting. The second time you can like copy paste and just change the things that need to be changed. It's much easier that time, but
I'm sure it's way more complex than that. But like
that is actually kind of what you do. But like, because I don't know, it's the same. The template doesn't change. It is ultimately a template, but it's like
I guess in the sense
really
of what you're doing. Yeah. So you're dealing with the International Telecommunications Agency, or
ITU.
ITU.
The International Telecommunication Union.
Okay. Yeah. Which is part of the United Nations.
Yes.
But through them, do you also have to now go to the local governments and deal with them?
Yeah. In order to land a signal in a country, you have to get permission from that country. So like we had a satellite for the Philippines, we had to go to the Philippines. We had
you have to do it every single time? Is it
every single time for every single satellite? It's crazy. I mean, for SpaceX, it's a little different because they're one gigantic system that's sort of all collectively covering a thing. Right. So like SpaceX launched like 120 times last year for just their Starlink satellites. It was 120 launches. Right. And so they didn't have to like license every satellite with every country every time. They had the system licensed, basically.
Interesting. What would a system license mean? Does that mean like the...
So like collectively, so any individual Starlink satellite can't do almost anything. Like it it zips around the Earth every 90 minutes. It's only over us or whatever in our spot every 2 minutes if it happens to go over us. So one satellite by itself does almost nothing versus like the Astranis satellites just kind of hover there. So one satellite can do the full service. But if you have a system like Starlink where things are orbiting and whatever, you have to have hundreds or thousands of satellites to collectively cover a spot. So it doesn't make any sense to think about the satellites as the unit of licensing. You think about the whole system. So it's like we can land this much power in this particular spot on Earth.
Your background before joining Astranis was in telecommunications. You were in consulting before that. And how do you think Astranis was differentiated in that space? And we didn't really get to talk about like what Astranis was doing. They were building satellites, but there are other satellite manufacturers as well. So like, how is it differentiated in the space?
So yeah, telecom is really cool. It's like a very interesting industry in that there's an incredible amount of CapEx that has been spent to connect everybody in the world to everybody else in the world. And basically we take for granted that that's possible now, that you could talk to literally anybody you want right now if you really want. Like if you had just their number or if you had ability to get online, like email them or something. That's pretty incredible. And it took a lot of companies, it took a lot of money, it took a lot of time to build out that wave of infrastructure. And yet there are still people that are not connected to the internet. There are billions of people that are not actively using the internet every day. And why is that? Like how could that be true with all the effort that we spent with all the infrastructure we've deployed? Turns out the world is a very diverse place. There's tons of islands that are so far out that we can't run fiber to them, or mountains that are so treacherous we can't run them over them, or that sort of thing. So the simplest reason why you need satellites to do internet is just because there are places on Earth where it is so hard to get traditional infrastructure that it turns out going to space is easier. It's crazy that that's true, but it is true. So at one level, the Astranis value prop or the Starlink value prop is just like we provide coverage anywhere. No matter where you are on Earth, you can see a Starlink satellite. If you can see the sky, then you can connect to the internet. That's basically the Starlink value prop. The Astranis value prop is similar. Like that advantage is still true. Like we could go park a satellite anywhere, but it's a little bit different in that Astranis's value prop is about dedication, like being able to have your own satellite or your own control over a satellite. Whereas for a shared fiber line or something, or even like the shared Starlink constellation, it's sort of everybody's. Like everybody's using the same satellites for whatever they want. So the reason you would want Astranis is if you have some sensitive things, like your sensitive data, you don't want touching the public internet or whatever.
So it's like you're buying your own private communications,
your own cell tower,
your own cell tower.
Yeah, think about it like that. Think about it, your own cell tower.
Very cool. So actually, historically, I remember when I was back in Pakistan, Facebook launched. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff. There's been a bunch of like crazy like balloons and whatever. Like Google had the loon thing for a while, and Facebook had Free Basics, was like their internet program where they wanted to connect people, basically like to increase their TAM, which is kind of like
did it start out in Africa?
Hilarious. I don't actually. I don't know.
I remember because there was something called zero.facebook or something you could open from anywhere,
and it was like free or something.
It was free. Yeah,
exactly.
It was very interesting. Lasted a short while.
There's been lots of like crazy attempts to connect people, and like the balloons thing is awesome. Like that was such.
Do you think it's gonna work?
I don't know. There's lots of people that are trying that sort of thing now still. Like there are people that are trying to launch like stratospheric balloons to like augment cell coverage and things like that. I think that Starlink is an incredible product. Like it is so good at what it does. Like connecting anybody in the world to very high speed internet. Like pretty hard to beat that as just the base layer of all the internet everywhere. It's not the end. It's not like it will be the only telecom company in the world. I think that there's lots of reasons why you would want to have, fiber for dense cities, or you'd want to have dedicated internet if you're a country or a sensitive company or something like that. So there's lots of, it's not like the only telecom company in the world, but the baseline of like, we want coverage over rural places, like that's kind of solved by Starlink.
Do you think the future is going to be space telecommunication dominated? Is that like...
I think so. I mean, I think that there's definitely a role for terrestrial again, because people have phones and people have, as I say that, like Starlink is gonna they're gonna try to do like direct to device comms. They've been public about that.
Yeah.
So eventually we'll see how that all plays out. Like I think telecoms are not gonna be very happy when they have to compete directly with Starlink with like big satellites that are connected direct to people's phones. We'll see how that all plays out.
How is it that we see a lot of new startups coming, challenging new incumbents, whether that's, Anduril challenging the defense primes, or you could take any number of examples. But we don't see enough of these companies coming and challenging the terrestrial telecom giants. Like, that's also like a big four.
I think that the simplest answer is CapEx. Like, to launch your own cell network would be really, really hard. There are plenty of companies that have been startup-y, like not like venture-backed Silicon Valley startups, but there are like mobile virtual network operators are basically piggybacking on some existing network and trying to provide some service over the top that makes them useful and allows them to charge slightly more than the telecom companies charging them to offer their service. Those have existed. Like there are plenty of those that exist out in the world. Actually, I use an MVNO. I use Visible, which is like the one from Verizon. So it's not Verizon, but it is using Verizon's network. But it would be so hard to launch a pure Verizon competitor because you have to deploy billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure around the country. And then you have to acquire, really the answer is billions and billions of dollars of spectrum. So there's like wireless frequencies that you're allowed to use. The AT&Ts and Verizons and T-Mobiles of the world have acquired these incredible portfolios of spectrum. And without that, you literally can't offer a service.
But you do have tens of billions of dollars going into the AI labs. So technically that's possible.
Sure. But like at the end of the day, what's the prize? Like, I think the prize if you win the AI race is like extremely big. And the prize if you like oust Verizon is you're probably not going to kill them. You're probably not going to take 100% of their market share. Like, it's going to be hard to justify.
Or what is the differentiated value prop is the real question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You also hosted a podcast for a while called First Principles.
Yes.
What were the origins of that? What was the thesis behind starting that? Yeah. And you paused in the middle. Like, what happened?
Yeah, well, it's a long story. I think the simplest answer for why I did it is just I wanted to get good at video. So I wanted to talk to smart founders, which is like, what's the best way to do that? To start a podcast. I did the whole thing by myself, basically. The first season I had a little team that was helping me, but ultimately I just decided I didn't want to work with them anymore. And so for the second season, the one that was in person, I did that all myself. So set up all the cameras, did all the video editing, did all the
So you had a team
editing.
For like basically the easier part, which was
I know.
Doing the virtual.
Yeah, I had a team for the virtual one, which was like the easy part. But it was a good learning experience. That was like the goal of doing it, was to get better at video. Because at this point, I'm like managing Jason, who's like the GOAT of video. He's so good. And I'm like, don't even know what I'm talking about. So I had to learn somehow. And that was a good way to learn. But it's never bad to have excuses to talk to really smart people. And that's why 100%. I loved doing it. It was a great way to just, at the time, people were talking about deep tech or like hard tech or whatever. And so it was I think the first attempt to do a technical deep tech podcast, not just like the tell me about your life and your childhood and your parents or whatever, but like tell me about the product.
So your conversations were purely technical. You wanted to talk about the product.
I almost tried to avoid. I did explicitly try to avoid. Didn't always succeed, but I tried to avoid the like tell me about your life questions
or the business.
I just wanted to hear like how does the product work? Because the thesis back then was there were a lot of people getting really interested in deep tech or like hard tech or whatever, but don't even know how these things work. Like don't even care how these things work when that is in fact the operative question with all this stuff. It's like, if it works, then we believe there's going to be a big market for energy, like obviously, or there's going to be a big market for,
but what would need to
space
happen?
Or like space launch. But what do you have to do to build a rocket? What do you have to do to build, some technical product? That was the idea. The idea was let's dive deeper into the details. So I succeeded a little bit in that goal. I still think it could be done a lot better. Like maybe I'll relaunch it or something. I think if I do relaunch it at this point, it'll be more like the nuclear episode I did where it was like a Mr. Beastie, like I went to a nuclear reactor and pulled out a control rod. Like I actually did that. It was very fun.
Was that more natural to you?
No, way harder, like significantly harder to do that. But way more entertaining, I think.
Is all of video putting up an act?
I mean, all of marketing is sort of
like that. Do you wear your Twitter cap and you?
No, but I mean, but the counterpoint to that, like, yes, of course, this is all like a show. Like this is a show, and like the reason you talk in public is to portray publicly something that you think is important. But like I think that the people who are the best at it, like the Mike Solanas of the world, like they're being genuinely themselves when they do that. They're saying like what they actually think. Like I think if you there are too many people that go into Twitter, or honestly, this can be generalized to like a lot of things. It can be generalized to politics, it can be generalized to finance, it can be generalized like everywhere in America. I think this is like a big problem, is that people do the thing for the sake of the thing rather than for the sake of the outside world. So what I mean by that is like, if you do Twitter for the sake of Twitter, the way to do that is to be like a rage baiting loser, basically, to like just pick fights, to just like be antagonistic, to say things that are patently untrue, but will like get people to try to correct you. Like that's like the bad way to go about Twitter, but it is in theory like the right way. Like it's the way that if you're just going by the incentives of that system, then you get more views and you get more followers and people, you know, like the shock jock thing. Or like they hate the shock jock thing, but that drives them to like basically like view you. So if you go down that route of like being in public, it is definitely the easy way. It is definitely much easier to be antagonistic and mean and negative. But to be like, my goal with all the things that I've done in public is to be positive. My goal is to be like productive. It's to be optimistic. Those things are much harder. It's much harder to be an optimist than a pessimist. Any half brain can like come up with a reason that a startup could fail, but it's much harder to make one that works. So I think that, you know, yes, it's all an act to like do the public thing, but the people who are the best at it are the ones that are genuinely themselves and positive and optimistic and doing it the hard way.
Interesting. In video, that's like particularly, I guess, hard because it is like it makes you self-conscious in a way. The first few episodes I did, I didn't even want to check them out. I was like,
obviously,
man, I don't know. I don't want to hear myself. I don't want to look at myself. This like
I've never had that thing. Everybody says that they don't like hearing their voice or whatever. Definitely my voice sounds higher to me.
Right.
But actually, I think there's like a physiological reason for that. Like you feel the resonance in your face and in your chest and stuff when you talk. But obviously the mic doesn't feel the resonance.
Right.
So if you're like a bass, like a singing bass, then that approximates that feeling or whatever. Right. That's why everybody thinks their voice is high. So I think my voice is high, but I don't care. Like whatever.
And you have to get used to it.
I've never cared about that.
You have to get used to it. Like
I was also in high school debates. Like I don't really care about speaking in public at all. Like it just doesn't bother me in the slightest.
I was also in high school debates. Debates
really?
Yeah.
Which kind?
Parliamentary style.
Oh,
and,
nice. Yeah, parley.
MUNs. I don't know if you're familiar. Yeah.
I did model. I didn't so I think that I technically participated in a student congress event once, but only because I was part of another school that didn't have a team. Yeah. And if I participated, then they would have gotten more people out of that to go to the national tournament. But then I won. So I was participating in activity I'd never participated in before, only so that I would help other people go to the national tournament. But then I won the tournament. And so I stole the spot that I created. Oops.
How did you learn how to debate or get better at it?
It was just I was
iterative process.
I was like, well, yes, true. I was like a sports guy growing up or whatever, like a total jock kind of kid. Like, you know, grew up loving Kansas basketball and Michigan football, and all I wanted to do was like be a Michigan football player when I grew up. But then I get to high school and I'm like 5'0", and like I had a growth spurt when I was like a junior or whatever. But before that, I was like a pipsqueak. So I definitely couldn't. I couldn't even play baseball really anymore. I was too small to play baseball, which is like really saying something. So so in high school I had to choose something else, and I have all this competitive energy, and I just plowed it all into debate. I basically found it randomly. Like my mom was like, well, you should try debate, and I was like, sure, I'll go to a practice.
Did you like?
And then I just like instantly loved it. It was so fun. I love arguing. I love thinking. I love philosophy. I was reading a bunch of philosophy at the time, and so it was like a fun way to do that. But my school didn't really have a program. Like when I was in debate, I was the first debater from my school to earn multiple bids at the Tournament of Champions, which is like the biggest, most prestigious national tournament. So, you know, the entire history of my school, we'd had one student get one bid to the tournament over the entire history. It takes 2 bids to go to the national tournament of champions. And then like my junior year, I got 3, and my senior year, I got like 6 or 8 or something. I forget how many, but I like really went all in on debate. I just plowed all my sports competitive energy.
Take out all the competitive energy.
Yeah.
Defeat people in arguments.
Exactly.
I guess that like sort of checks out because that compounds in like on Twitter, you're also like sort of debating people and
a little bit. Like I definitely I'm trying to be the voice of optimism and the voice of like this can work. If anything, that's actually that's going to be like my downfall as an investor, I think. Like if I had to predict right now, like why will I be a bad VC? It's because I'm like, I think we can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's this glaring obvious flaw in like the way that they're doing this. They're like, you know, there's this thing that they have to fix. How are they possibly going to fix it? I'm like, my natural disposition is like, we can do that.
You can figure it out.
Yeah. And that's not how you should be as an investor. That is not.
No, I'm sure through even the Astranis journey, you've learned how hard it actually is from knowing you can figure it out to actually figure it out.
Yeah, true.
What is something, this is like one of my favorite questions. What is something you've changed your mind on over the last year or so? Like gone completely 180 on?
Over the last year.
It's been a wild year.
It has been a
January 2025 to January 2026.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, that was the period of the hardest. You asked why I stopped doing the podcast, is because I just like was working every waking hour of the day. Like that's the hardest I ever worked, was like February of last year to like July-ish of last year. It was insane. Like multiple people, like I basically like took on multiple people's jobs at Astranis in addition to all the stuff I was already doing. We like completely revamped our like one of the teams at the company. We basically like let go of a bunch of people, but then like hired everybody to replace them. So it was like totally insane. So that, I don't know, that didn't really change my mind about anything other than like just found my limit. Like I found how hard I can work. It is that hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I also like just have a new job as a VC. I just had a kid, like my second baby.
Right.
Like I had a pretty crazy year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I used to, one of the, so we actually talked about this at lunch. One of the things I said when I was in my like little antagonist phase on Twitter was I was like telling all the parents that parenting was easy. This was before I had a kid.
Right.
Yeah. that was me being a little bit of a troll for sure. In my defense, the argument I was trying to make is actually a good one. I think it's like that, you know, what is the hardest thing we have to do in today's world? It's not actually doing the thing. It's like finding the right things to do. And once you have a kid, it's like super obvious. It's extremely obvious that the thing you're supposed to do in this world is like take care of those kids. So nowadays, okay, now I've experienced what it's like to have a 0-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, for the 2-year-old to have the flu, for the 2-year-old to give you the flu. And so you and your wife are both like down for the count, like dying in your bed, but have to take care of your children. Like that was hard. Like that. Okay, fine. Like that. I changed my mind. Parenting is hard. But you know, I stand by the fact. I believe that parenting is like the moral clarity that you get from becoming a parent is worth all the pain and hardship of the annoyance of like clearing up snot. And
what kind of moral clarity do you get?
Oh, just you know exactly what your job is in the world.
It's just taking care of.
Yeah, exactly. Your job, reproducing. That's like the most evolutionary way to think about it. Sure.
Right.
I just think like there is I don't know. Like I always wanted to be a dad. Like I really cared about being, I cared about kids, and like I grew up being a camp counselor, and so I like spent a bunch of time like taking care of 4 and 5-year-olds basically, like at the YMCA. I'm the oldest of my siblings. I'm the oldest of all my cousins, so I was always like the caregiver or whatever, like within the family, or at least I, you know, had much more of that than if I had been the youngest kid. And so I always wanted to have kids. And then when you finally see like a kid that looks like you, that like looks like you and looks like your wife, it's like unbelievable. Like qualitatively different experience than anything else in the entire world. So I don't know. I was that was like a perspective shifter, is like having your first kid. The second one, you know, you kind of start to see why there are differences in birth order. Like, you know, the first one is like this awe-inspiring, like brand new experience that blows your mind. And then the second one is like, all right, we got this.
We got this.
Like, you know,
right.
I like, you know, I have a girl this time, you know, I had a boy first and then a girl. So that's like a little bit of a different experience, or like will be, I guess, as they grow up. But mostly we just like, we can handle it now. We know what's up.
Wholesome. So now you're in this, so we're going to change gears a bit. You're in this new role, still very new, 3 weeks in or a month in about it.
I'm a venture capitalist.
You're a venture capitalist. You're part of the American Dynamism team. What are you excited about in the next year? And in I guess like what are your goals with the firm?
Well, I'm a beginner again, so that's fun. Like I really have to take my time, and I'm not trying to rush things, and I'm trying to see everything that I possibly can. So see as many companies as I can, meet as many people as I can in my new capacity. The kinds of conversations you have as an operator are very different than the kind of conversations you have as a VC. It's just, I've already learned that, and it's been 3 weeks in. So
did your DMs blow up after the announcement?
Yeah, because I did the report thing too. I did this. I did the more perfect report, which was like intended to generate some reach out and whatever. So I was swamped with that. I was swamped with that. But no, mostly the thing I'm excited for is that I feel like this firm and this team at this firm are more aligned than I could hope for in a job. I think that like if you knew me before this era, it wouldn't surprise you to learn that I joined this company and this team. Like I very much have those vibes. Like, you know, the American Dynamism team is optimistic, is pro-America, cares deeply. Like I think that they are the opposite of cynical. Like they're very grounded and very practical and very like they care genuinely about the things that they're doing, and like their life work is being poured into this fund or like this firm. So that I'm like super aligned with. I'm also aligned with just with the general A16Z stance towards the world. Like I think marketing matters, and I think that engaging the government matters, and A16Z is like world class, obviously, at both of those things. So it's been cool. It's like it's a very good vibe fit. It's a very good like interest fit, and I'm pumped. I'm so excited.
It also combines both of your, I guess, like two functions that you ended up building and managing at Astranis,
exactly.
which was marketing. You built that up. You hired an exceptional team that has gone to do incredible things, and also regulatory. You were, working with countries trying to figure out getting permission for every single launch, which is which like sort of ties into
oh, absolutely. I mean, like that's very much like the A16Z ethos is that both of those things really matter. Like you've seen the firm invest incredible resources in both of those over the past year, 2 years, like the whole time it's been around. I think like the new media team that's being formed by A16Z is super impressive and super cool. The firm hired Eric Torenberg, who people knew from before, like all of his different experiments that he'd done in the sort of media space, but even more in like the community space. Everybody was following those, obviously. And then when I heard that he got hired at A16Z, I was like, let's go. Like what a sick hire, right? Like he's such a community builder. He's such a proactive, positive, optimistic kind of guy that he's like, he is also a perfect fit for the firm. And it's been super cool just to see like public artifacts exist of the work that he's done. So a lot of like listeners can go check it out. But there's also stuff that's inside that I can't talk about yet that I'm seeing that's like, holy shit, like let's go.
So it's an exciting time ahead for the firm.
Very much so.
And
I mean basically the week that I joined AD, American Dynamism raised like a $1.2 billion fund. So that helps.
That helps. That's true.
It helps a lot.
Okay, so we're gonna do some closing questions here.
Sweet.
How do you think? It's like I guess like you spent 7 years at a firm. How do you think early talent at a startup should think about choosing what company to join, what to pursue?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, how should entrepreneurs think about what problem to go after?
So if you're joining a company, if you want to join, you don't want to found, the single most important thing you can do is find the best company you can. That seems like sort of trite advice, but what that means is that you're not optimizing for role, you're not optimizing for stage, like you're just optimizing for trajectory of company. And the reason I think that's true is because you'll just get so many new experiences if you have that growth. Like if you join a company that's stagnant, there are no more resources to be had around. So people that are already at the company already have those resources. They've already been allocated to them. If you want to go do a new project or do a new thing, you have to take from somebody else if the company's not growing. So that's not going to work. You can't hire anybody new if the company's not growing. You're just going to stay stagnant, which means you're going to be in your role. Maybe you're going to get a promotion after 2 years and like a 5% bump on your pay every year or whatever. But like, that's not the kind of growth that you should want if you're going to a startup. So in contrast, if you go to a company like Astranis was at the time, you go from 50 to 150 to 350 to 500 people. Every layer of that, or like every evolution cycle, you have a totally different company, totally different constraints you're hitting. You get to hire more people, you get more resources that you can deploy. Like that's what you want. You want to be able to grow with the company. So you need a company that's growing.
I think that's great advice, but like for talent especially, if you're evaluating companies and with Series A startups, how do you know 50% success rate?
Well,
how do you know this company is going to go from 50 to 500 employees?
If you truly knew, then you'd be the world's best investor. So like nobody really knows. I think that the best you can do though, like
what's an educated guess, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, you can look at the trajectory so far, like and you can visit them in person. You feel a lot. You can feel it like in the place a lot. You can just see how dedicated people are. Are they working as hard as you want to work? Like I think that especially early in your career, which are like the kind of people that want the answer to this question. Like if you're early in your career, you should be working your absolute ass off. Like you need to be in the office as much as you possibly can. Don't work remote. Like go to a place that's in person 5 days a week. You're going to learn so much more. You're going to get that mentorship. You're going to get just the passive like learnings that come from it. Maybe like one of the most important decisions I made when I was at Astranis was deciding that I was going to actively pursue being around the founders and leaders of the company. I found out that the founders came in on Sundays. So like, I have an excuse to be there on Sunday. Oh yeah, I had to be here. Oh, funny that you guys are here too. Like, you know, I just wanted to be around them
because
I wanted to, because I wanted to absorb what they had to teach me. I wanted them to prove to them that I was going to work my ass off if they gave me any assignment, that I was going to do a really good job if they gave me a new responsibility. And you don't get that unless you're, you know, in person with people working really hard and they're working really hard. So
showing up is one way to build trust.
Yeah. But then to answer the question of like, how do you decide from the outside if a company is going to be great? Like, it's really hard. Like, being even in this industry and having it be literally my full-time job now to decide which companies are going to be amazing or not. It's a really hard thing to do. I would say me and one of my partners at Andreessen Horowitz, Ryan McIntosh, made this site that's called Build List that hopefully will help people with that. Buildlist.xyz, plug it, whatever. Yeah. It's a site where basically me and Ryan made a list of all the companies, like a bunch of companies that we think are doing really important work. And there's a job board on there too. So you can search by I'm an electrical engineer. You can search by I'm an operations person, and it'll show all the roles that are at your level, at your town. Like if you want to be in LA or if you want to be in SF or whatever. So maybe that's a good start for people. Hopefully it's helpful. But it is pretty inscrutable from the outside. So you just want to meet people and actually get there and physically meet them because, you know, much, much more reliable than trying to base it off just like with a tweet or something.
That makes sense. What have you learned about time allocation over the years?
I mean, so like I mentioned before, I'm like a fast worker, a very fast worker. So my time allocation is less like time boxing stuff. And I'm not really one of the like, let's track every minute sort of thing. What I've learned is just if you have the ability to reduce the amount of mental burden that you have to hold in your head, you should do it. So what that means is if I have a list of 10 things and then 3 of them are going to take 5 minutes to do, I'm going to do those first. Even if they're not that important, it just gets things off the list and gets more stuff out of my head that I don't have to think about anymore.
Right.
So that's a good strategy of just get the fast things out of your brain as fast as you can. There's things like digital and physical cleanliness, like making sure that your inbox is always at 0. I'm an inbox 0 person, always have been. Like I can't sleep until my inbox is at 0. Like it's just impossible. The same with physical stuff. Like it bothers me to have like physical clutter around because I want nothing in my head except the task that's ahead of me. So for time management, I don't know, I'll just work faster and work harder and like work more hours of the day. That's fine. But for how to do the most with those hours, it's all about kind of eliminating distractions,
eliminating clutter, eliminating distractions. Interesting. Do you think you were at Astranis for 7 years and you got involved in 4 or 5 maybe different roles at the time, you know, recruiting and then seeing that team get built up. You took on marketing and then, you know, marketing became a whole department and you were involved with regulatory, so finance, like, you know, you were involved in all these different functions. There's way more optionality, there's way more job hopping, and especially younger generations, right? Like, especially if you're living in the Bay Area or New York, right? One of these startup hubs. But it takes time to even see your full potential and, you know, build trust and earn the right to explore different roles or explore different things you can do within the company. So how do you see that? Do you think 7 years would have been that ideal amount of time for you to be able to see the growth within yourself even that you saw?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so the reason I stayed at Astranis that long is because I had many different jobs as I was there. Like it wasn't like I had the same thing I was doing for 7 years. I had a different job every like 6 months. So it felt very novel. It felt like I was growing constantly. I was continuously upgrading the difficulty and the scale and the scope of the work that I was doing. And so it felt very different every 6 months, really.
Funny you say that long. Our parents used to, you know.
Oh, I know. It's true. Like my dad, you know, my dad worked at Frito-Lay for, you know, like, yeah, exactly. Like, but at the same time, I think that nowadays, the like 2-year time cycle to switch jobs is like way too fast.
Yeah.
Like there is a way to navigate your career in the world where you're just going to hop to the thing that gives you a higher salary and a sexier title and whatever. That's going to work for like 8-ish years. And then it's going to hard cap you. Like you're gonna get those first 2-3-ish like hiring promotions. Like you're not gonna get promoted internally. You're gonna go find a higher role externally. It's gonna work until you're like 30-ish, and then it just is a hard stop. Like it doesn't work anymore. You don't advance from manager to senior manager to director to VP by doing that kind of thing. It just you can't build the credibility. You can't build the trust.
Right.
It's very hard to hop into those roles from the outside, in my experience, at least to do it well.
Right.
I'm sure there are plenty of companies that do that. I don't know if it works that well.
I also think you need reps and time to be world class at something, and you just, I don't think there's a way.
Yeah, in theory, if the jobs are similar enough, like you're hopping from one AI lab to another or something, like maybe that doesn't apply. But what my argument would be,
that you're going into a different environment then, and
totally, if you're like, and you don't, no one trusts you.
Yeah,
like nobody knows anything about you. Like they don't. So there's a lot of upfront work. I'm learning this again because I'm just joined a new company. Like there's a lot of upfront work that it takes to prove to people that you're competent, to prove to people that you're trustworthy, to prove to them that if they give you an assignment that you're going to absolutely like crush it. Like that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I think that taking on that burden over and over and over again every 2 years is just like not efficient, but also doesn't give you the compounding effects of relationships that only really occur over longer periods of time.
Oh yeah. You mentioned you read philosophy when you were in college.
High school.
Oh, high school.
Debate.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your? Well, it doesn't have to be philosophy, but like, what's been an all-time favorite book that?
Okay, I can answer this quantitatively.
Okay.
So I have tracked every book that I've read since 2014, and all those books are on my website, pronouncekeil.com.
Yeah.
You can see all of them. You can see my ratings of every single book. I actually don't know what number one is. My guess is that it would be Harry Potter 5 or no, Harry Potter 6.
Oh,
so Harry Potter 6 is the best Harry Potter book by far. It's the book where like
Why
Snape.
is that?
It's like the Snape book. It's the book where Snape kind of like reveals that he is a multifaceted character that's really interesting.
Right.
And that it's an incredible book. Like on my favorite when I was growing up was always obviously number 4, like everybody's favorite book, The Goblet of Fire. But because that's like we're fighting dragons and like we're doing the tournament thing. Like that's a very fun book. But like in terms of a good book, like 6 is definitely way better. So I think Harry Potter 6 is probably the top rated book on my like hundreds of books that are on that list. But probably the top category now is sci-fi. I was really late. I was super late to starting sci-fi, but I love it. It's so fun. Like I basically made a list of all the books that I hadn't read in sci-fi that I needed to read, and I've just been systematically going through them. So right now I'm reading the culture books, which are incredible. They're so good. It's like this incredible world, this utopic world where actually like sort of machines have taken over. It's like post AGI, and there's minds, which are big computers that are sort of running all of society. And then it's post scarcity. Like everybody just has whatever they want. You ask a ship, can I please have this jacket, but in blue? And then they just give it to you. And it's incredible, but it's a really interesting world and a very maybe prescient one. We'll see. So I love those books. I like the Foundation books. I like the Dune books. I like Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I like Seven Eves. I loved the 3 Body Problem books. That trilogy is incredible. If you've only seen the Netflix show or whatever, like don't watch it ever again. Like just read the books. The books are like 10,000 times better than that series. The 3 Body Problem books are good. The Greg Egan books are really good. They're not really, they're like sort of sci-fi. They're like more like numbers and math and like that sort of thinking. Those are really, but they're like crazy. There's a book called Permutation City that's incredible. Quantum, who people know now, like his book or their book, I don't actually know if it's Guy, but Quantum's books are the one that's most popular is There Is No Antimemetics Division, which I think Mike recommended to you. I like scrubbed through that episode. I think he recommended it to you.
Yes, Mike did.
So funnily enough, that book was released a long time ago.
Right.
Nobody remembers it. No, I'm just kidding. That's the premise of the book is that there are ideas that people can't remember. But it was released a while ago and got re-released recently, and that release got really popular. But I have the old one from like a million years ago, and apparently it's now like before the reprint or whatever, it was like obscenely valuable. People just like found the book again and got obsessed with it. But that's an incredible book. It's worth it. So I don't know. Sci-fi is probably the top category, even though Harry Potter.
Out of all those books, who do you think did the best job in translating those into great movies or TV shows?
Oh man, I'm the worst person to ask about this. Honestly, like I've seen some sci-fi, I haven't seen a lot. I've seen some movies, I haven't seen a lot. So I don't really like.
You clearly think 3 Body Problem wasn't the best translation.
Well, that was bad. That was like it's just the 3 Body Problem book was so good, like such an interesting book with like a cool premise and like very deep characters. And then the book just like lumped, or the show just like lumped a bunch of those characters together. Like it literally made like multiple people one person.
Oh,
and it's like that doesn't really work. That isn't really how that should happen. And then there was also, I think it actually also happened in reverse, where there was one like really interesting character that like split into multiple people. Like it was just weird translation.
So lacks depth in a way.
Well, it's a hard book to like. I think it's originally written in Chinese, isn't it? And then they like translated it. And the guy who translated is like an amazing author in his own right. That's actually maybe the book that I need to read next. Is the guy who translated Three Body Problem. I think his name's Ken Liu or something like that. He apparently is a great author, and I want to read some of his sci-fi.
Oh, interesting. What's your favorite cuisine?
Chipotle. That's my real answer. I
believe it because all general hangouts are Chipotle.
I have this thing where I've been slowly incrementing the amount of Chipotle that I've spent at a single event every year over the past couple of years. 2 years ago, it was just like kind of normal. Last year, I spent $800. Or 2 years ago was $800 was the biggest event. Last year, I spent $2,400 on a Chipotle event. It was the state schoolers thing.
You mentioned,
I saw a tweet that was basically like, we went to this party in San Francisco and everybody went to Harvard or Stanford. And I was like just threw up in my mouth a little bit. And so I hosted an event only for state schoolers and we ate Chipotle.
Did you check at the entrance whether there were state schoolers?
I made everybody wear swag.
Oh, okay.
That was the secret. It was awesome. It was a really fun party. But
what's it going to look like this year?
I don't know. Well, we got to double it. So how do you spend $5,000 at Chipotle? I even at the Chipotle where I picked up the $2,400, the people in the back were like, please never do that again. they got very serious. They were like, don't. Like, that was really horrible. I'm sorry. So I'll have to like talk to Chipotle corporate or something.
Yeah, or like
get the official Chipotle.
Or like split it up and go to multiple Chipotles.
That is actually probably the answer, is that I do like $2,000 orders at 3 different Chipotles, and then it's $6,000 at Chipotle. But $2,400 already scared them. So
and maybe book out all of
I've just cornered the Chipotle market in San Francisco. My biggest gripe of San Francisco is that there's no Jimmy John's in San Francisco.
What's Jimmy John's?
Sandwiches.
Oh,
it's like subs. It's unbelievably good. It's so tasty.
Is it like a Subway competitor?
It's like Subway, but it's much, much, much better than Subway. And they had one in San Francisco, but like due to the crazy San Francisco taxes and whatnot, it's just like it's unbelievably expensive to run a chain. Yeah. But I think if I was a billionaire, like if the world decided that like Christian Keil needs to have $1 billion to allocate to the world, I would open like Jimmy John's and McDonald's and Chipotle's in places they don't have them.
You might not directly have $1 billion, but you are part of $1 billion fund.
Yes, American Dynamism really is Jimmy John's. That's where we're gonna bring it everywhere.
So Jimmy John's was not on my agenda. I was hoping like you were gonna tell me that you're gonna be using some of those $1 billion to allocate to maybe a base on the moon or
we can do that too.
You do that.
But you need Jimmy John's
secondary. Jimmy John's
we'll
first.
We'll expand Jimmy John's operations and then bring it to the moon. Actually, we'll have subs be on the moon.
Well, Christian, this has been a delight. Like I think like I've been.
What a way to end this.
No. Yeah, I know we've been talking for a couple of months now and trying to do this. Just hearing about your insights from building Astranis, taking on those different roles, and I think you're incredibly dynamic as an operator. And I hope the other operators see this episode and reach out to you or learn from this and are encouraged that this is a path within the company, and if you're ambitious, just like get good at the thing.
Yeah.
Figure out how to get good at the thing.
Christian's advice is be smart and get good at things.
Yeah, be smart, figure out how to get good at the thing, and just like take ownership. I think like the crux is take ownership, and then you'll figure it out. And then I hope to do this again when you're 1 year into the investing role.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
And like, what are your thoughts then? And then we can compare notes on how
oh my God, I've already changed my mind so much. Like 3 weeks in, like this is really dumb. Like I shouldn't admit this publicly, but like I didn't actually understand how like financial VC is. That you like care about companies as companies that like generate cash flows or whatever. Like, of course I did that in business school, but then like when you're at a company, you're not really thinking about that day to day. Like yes, sort of at the margins, but Astranis was a weird company. We only had like low double-digit customers. We had, because every asset is so gigantic, and mostly we were focused on the product. Like product was the overwhelming amount of time that we spent at the company. And so when I get to VC, I'm like, I'm so excited to dive into all these products, and then turns out it's a financial role. Like that's fine. I like that too. It's different.
What does this look like? What does the return profile for this opportunity look like? Like, how does this play out over 10 years? How does this play out over 15 years?
I guess I should have predicted that, but like, it is investing after all. But fine.
In a different way, you're also, you're also recruiting like talent in a way. You're also
it is very recruiting.
So it's
extremely, so investing is extremely like recruiting. The whole bell curve
it combines
totally works.
a lot of different roles, not just finance. Don't just
well, it's not. It's more finance than I thought.
More finance.
I didn't realize.
Yeah. Right, Christian, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.